Nicholas, thank you for your time and for being with us here on India Today. We've been looking at this story closely, these dramatic images of, hundreds of tractors, perhaps even thousands of tractors, on the road in Brussels and other cities, including possibly Paris. We do know that this farmer agitation began in France last year. It has carried on and escalated quite a bit ahead of the EU summit. How are you looking at this unfold, Nicholas?
Well, at this precise moment, the French Prime Minister is starting a press conference where he is expected to announce some measures in favor of those farmers. What is interesting is, as your reporters have said, is that this movement of protest is all over Europe. You had big protests in Germany, in Spain, and now in France, and they have many things in common. They protest a lot about what they think is an excess of norms, of regulations, in particular on environment, but also there's another dimension, which is that they consider that they are unable to sell their product at a fair price to the industry, and it's particularly strong in this country, in France, where the farmers have been, the milk producers or meat or whatever. They're all saying that it's very difficult. They're not in a good position to negotiate with big industry and to sell their products at a fair price.
Yes.
And yeah, sorry.
Nicholas, do you think that the measures that are likely to be announced by the French leadership could diffuse this situation?
Yes, it's possible, because just a few minutes ago, the head of the largest farmers' union has said that they were confident that they had assurance from the government that they would have good measures, and so that they have been heard. So we have the feeling that the government is giving up something, is in particular on regulation. They're ready to move forward,
yes.
And so there are many signs that the crisis could ease, at least. But at the same time, you have some farmers, which are probably a minority, but are very, very determined to continue.
Yes.
And so that's always difficult in that kind of movement. You have the bigger union who says, well, let's be reasonable. The government is taking good measures, and then you have other smaller organizations that are pushing for more money, more measures in favor of agriculture. I have to add that
yes.
that kind of movement is very popular. People like the farmers, and so there's a lot of sympathy in public opinion. Farming, it's only 1.5% of the workforce in France.
Yes.
So it's very small in numbers, but it's very popular, and people like the countryside, like farmers, and etc. So. Sorry.
Is it also very political, Nicholas? Have opposition parties and opposition politicians also tried to get in on this and, make use of this whole agitation for political ends?
Yeah, of course, you're perfectly right, because, in a few months, in June, we'll have the European elections.
Indeed,
for the
yes.
European Parliament. And so, of course, it's the beginning of the campaign. And so all the opposition parties all over Europe, especially far right, are pushing, and they are using this movement for to gain votes. So it's very difficult for all governments in Germany, in the Netherlands, in France as well, to because of this electoral contest. We are in the middle of this. As you are in India, we're
yes.
in the middle of a political campaign, and yes.
Absolutely.
It's,
Because there will be some who will draw parallels, Nicholas, between the farmer protests that took place in India a couple of years ago and these protests.
yeah.
Similarly, there was a lot of public sympathy for the farmers here. The government
Yes.
actually had to roll back the laws that they had announced. Even though those laws were seen by many experts as being progressive and required for taking agriculture to the next level of modernization, etc., they had to roll it back because it had become such a political issue. Is there a danger of that happening there as well in Europe?
Exactly, it's exactly the same pattern. People are there's a paradox. People want more measures in favor of environment,
Yes,
to fight, global warming, etc. And so more regulation on that. And then at the same time, well, the farmers are saying, well, that's too much a burden on us. And the same people who want that kind of regulation, stronger regulation on climate, they sympathize for the farmers, and say, well, the governments and Brussels and Europe imposes too much regulations that are too strict, and it's true that the agricultural sector is subject to a lot of regulation. For example, if you can have tens of regulations for the same thing, and because you have the European level, you have the national level, regional level, etc. So it's kind of a nightmare for many farmers. And on top of that, of course, since the war in Ukraine, the energy costs have gone up.
Yes,
and it's also one of the reasons of the anger that we see today. It's these people have suffered from huge energy costs, and also because Europe wants to help Ukraine, we have opened up the European market to Ukrainian products like chicken, like wheat, like everything. So that we import Ukrainian products free of tax.
yes.
And that's also something that make farmers angry, because they say that it's an unfair competition. Of course, we want to help Ukraine, but but we don't want to have to pay for that. As a farmer, we don't want to pay for that.
Nicholas, last couple of questions. Since this entire agitation actually began last year in France, and now these protests have spread to all of the big capitals in Europe. Have all of these governments, including the French government, misjudged how big this was going to become? Did they miss that this was going to become a much, much bigger thing?
Yes, I think so, and they misjudge also the fact that these farmers' organizations all over Europe are talking together.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
2 days ago, I spoke to the head of one of the big unions here in France, and he was telling me that he had just a phone call with his Italian counterpart, and he was in contact with the Germans and everything. So probably the governments have misjudged this, the fact that all these farmers' organizations were able to speak together and that they had the same concerns.
So a press conference is going to be starting any moment now. We hope that things can be resolved very soon. The EU summit is about to start. So obviously the protests happening in Brussels right now, and they're very dramatic pictures of fires being set and stones being thrown, etc. Nicholas, I'm sure you've seen those images as well. So one final comment from you. Obviously the farmers have been able to consolidate and unite in such a way as to bring the maximum amount of pressure on European politicians, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yes, exactly. the paradox of the movement is that, you know, 1/3 of the EU budget is for agriculture. I mean, without these subsidies,
Yes.
The French agriculture would be in a very, very difficult situation, much worse than today. And we could say the same for Italy, for Spain, for other European countries. So it's the farmers in Europe get a lot of subsidies from the taxpayers.
Yes.
But so that's why they're in Brussels now. They say, well, okay, you help us, but we want more, and also we want to renegotiate or you know, some of the trade agreements that we have with other countries.
Absolutely.
They're very worried with a trade agreement that is being negotiated now, and the French president is against that treaty with Latin America, with Mercosur. And it's so that's one thing, but there are other trade agreements with New Zealand, with Chile, with etc. that are you know, that the farmers want to abolish in a way.
Okay. We'll leave it there for the moment. Very much appreciate your time and your inputs on this story, Nicholas. Stay safe, and thank you very much for bringing us that big story on India today.